Hi, I'm Lauren with the Pikes Peak Library District. So April is National Poetry Month, and to celebrate that, we wanted to try out some Blackout poetry. So if you haven't heard of Blackout poetry, it's a really fun way to make poems using existing words on book pages or magazine pages or newspapers. So what you do is you take a page, maybe from an old book, maybe from a magazine, anything that you have on hand with print on it, and then you take a pencil and a sharpie. So those are the only three things you'll need, is something with text on this, and then something erasable you can write with, and something permanent you can write with. And it can help to have a little bit of scratch paper on the side. So basically how this works is that you'll just read through whatever page you have on hand. This I think is a page from Lioness Rampant by Tamara Pierce. And then you circle words that you might want to use in your poem. So in this case, I might go through this page and say, I want to say something about summer. I see the word bright on here. Home could be interesting to use. I see darkness further down on the page. Maybe there's something I can do with that. And when you're done circling all of the words, and I've just done that in pencil here, right, so I can erase it later. What you can do is you can either try to just kind of piece together a poem as you go, or you can write it down on the scratch paper here and then arrange the different words until you're happy with how it looks or how it sounds. And you could even combine, right, words from different lines, just going top left to top to bottom right. So because that's the order your readers will be going in, right, from the highest lines and then left to right from there. So you can just kind of picture how the poem is going to flow in your head. And once you've figured out the words that you want to use, it's really just as simple as taking a Sharpie or a marker and blocking out the text that you haven't circled. So in this case, you know, maybe I'm just going to start by doing lines through it with Sharpie, or you could try and get a little fancy and maybe you have an image, or you want to completely scribble out the page, or you want to use a bunch of different colors to give it kind of a drawing effect. So there's a bunch of different ways that you could organize this to look a little bit artistic. Now when I'm getting started with it, all I'm going to do is just scribble through it with a Sharpie just to get myself ready to go. And then once I've crossed out everything else, I'm going to go back and see if maybe I want to make some little doodles on the page, or if I want to block out certain areas more. But I'll start with just getting the text of the poem on here and pretty clearly blocked out. And if there's anything you circled and you didn't use it, you can go ahead and erase the pencil marks around it now. The ones that I have, that I'm keeping in, I'm going to leave the pencil around them until I've decided how I want the final page to look. And then I'll erase it and I'll do whatever artistic thing I wanted to do. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw these little spiky squares around those words and then really scribble in the rest of the page. Okay, so I've got my basic text block out. Now I'm going to go ahead and put the squares around the words that I wanted. Alright, so now it looks a little bit more like this. You can see you've got that really effect where the text that you've left in is popping out against that darker background. But it could look a little bit fancier, so I'm going to go ahead now and erase the pencil marks and then color this in. So let's take this eraser and just make sure we don't have any stray pencil marks on here where we don't want them. And that should do it. And then I'll take my Sharpie and I'm going to start blocking out the parts that I don't want. Okay, so I finished my Blackout poem, and you can see I've really just blocked out the words and then colored in all the text around it black, leaving a couple white spaces here. So this is a pretty simple way to do it. It doesn't take too long. You can get really fancy with this. So I have a lot of words around bright, dark, summer. Maybe I could have done, a sun and blacked out the text around that. You can really be as artistic with the scribbling out part as you want to be, or you can just keep it really focused, simple on the text. So it's really a fun way to do, to create your own poems and kind of repurpose existing text for your own expressions and your own thoughts. So I hope you give it a try and that you have some fun with it. If you'd like some more resources on poetry, writing poetry, some great books in verse, I have that down in the description, along with some of the other stuff that the Pikes Peak Library District is doing this April to celebrate National Poetry Month. So I hope you enjoyed this project and have a great day!